Hello there. My name is Jonathan, also known as Dai Wamprat Dai. You found Binging the Force with the Rocky Mountain Fan Force. This is a place where Star Wars friends get together, rewatch Star Wars shows, and receive all the fan service via Fire Hose. You can find us on Facebook at Rocky Mountain Fan Force, and you find this show on a multitude of podcast platforms and on YouTube at Binging the Force. And you can also find our merchandise store if you're interested in getting some merch at bingingtheforce.myspreadshop.com. So today, I am proud to be joined by ta-da, Michael,
Hello there.
Dale,
Howdy.
Jefferson,
Hello.
James,
Howdy.
and for the first time, special guest Erin.
Hello there.
Welcome. So, our audience has probably seen some familiar faces here before, but Erin, welcome. See that you're a member of the Rebel Legion Mountain Base.
Mm-hmm.
So
I sure am.
Kind of the elevator speech on what the Rebel Legion is and how you are involved.
Sure. The Rebel Legion is the good guys to the 501st. So if you've ever seen people who troop in or who in costume who show up for sporting events or at Children's Hospital, people who are dressed as Darth Vader or Princess Leia, that's typically us. We work with Lucasfilm and make sure that our costumes are as close to screen accurate as possible.
That's awesome. So I understand you have some of those costumes yourself.
I do. I dress as Ahsoka from Rebels, as well as Jyn Erso and Padme Amidala. So
Awesome.
all of them handmade right here in this dungeon.
Very cool. Which one's your favorite?
I would say Ahsoka only because it makes me look completely different. My sister, the first time I wore it, she saw a picture of me and she said, I wouldn't recognize you in an alley. And so that one completely transforms me. But really wearing costumes is just a way of allowing me to be someone else for a little while. And it's really empowering to see children looking up at you in awe of seeing their favorite characters. So.
Does your sister frequently meet orange people with head tails in alleys?
No. In fact, she doesn't know who Ahsoka is from anything. My sister is not a Star Wars person. I recently was married, and she was my maid of honor, and so we had a lightsaber duel, and she didn't know how to hold the lightsaber, and I kind of felt like I had failed. So
You failed her for the last time.
I did.
That's okay. We're just proud of you for not disowning her for not being a Star Wars fan. So.
No, she's got a lot of other fandoms that she keeps up with. So not everyone is a Star Wars fan, and that's okay. I am, and that's who I am, and everyone gets to be who they are.
Awesome. Well, we're glad that everybody else is here as they are. And speaking of Ahsoka, today we are watching The Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 13, titled The Jedi, also known as that one that has the Western and Kung Fu movie tropes. So this episode sees a live-action debut of Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka in full badass mode.
Mm-hmm.
And it sees the deepening of the Filoni-verse with the reintroduction in name of Grand Admiral Thrawn, last seen in aforementioned Rebels show. But before we get started with the episode today, I have a question for our panel. So in this episode, we learn the child's real name is Grogu, right?
Baby gets a name.
It's a name, whether you like it or not. That's what it is. But as fans, right, we've been calling him Baby Yoda this whole time. So my question is, what are some of your favorite Star Wars nicknames, character nicknames in worlds or in the real world? So of course, Baby Yoda is one that fans have been giving to this character. So one of my favorites that I like is actually in world. It's when Han Solo calls Leia "Your Worshipfulness." I think that's just hilarious. So, who has a Star Wars character nickname that they like and want to offer up?
It's got to be Snips.
Snips is good.
Gotta be Snips. Like she's snippy, so it's fitting. And Sky Guy, both of those are kind of close to my heart. So
yeah, and it kind of like immediately kind of shows the relationship, right? Like they kind of dive into being able to like kind of harass each other a little bit, but still be good partners.
Yep.
Those two take a long time to kind of get used to, but R2E, I don't know about that. I never was a fan of the R2E.
R2E.
I was going to say, laugh it up, Fuzzball.
Yep.
Fuzzball. Very nice.
Nerf
For
herder.
walking carpet as well, yeah.
Nerf herder. Which nerve herder. I know it's nerf herder, but for the longest time as a kid,
Roughly looking nerf herder.
yeah, he's right here. You can hardly tell, but he hangs
Yeah,
on
and
the
that's
wall every day.
and that's like a title, like an existing thing in universe that you can, like a derogatory name for somebody too. So extra points for that. Very nice.
On that same line, Bantha Poodoo. We're keeping it PG, but yeah, in universe, that's you don't want to be Bantha Poodoo. That's for sure.
That's evolving from
kind of voodoo.
Right.
that's going from nicknames to like derogatory names. Yeah.
Right.
Well, you guys took all the good ones already, but I'll dig deep like I often do and go with Wormy, which is what all of Luke's friends at the Tashi station call him. We don't see any of that in the
I was
actual.
going to say in a deep cut in a cut scene there, yeah.
Yeah, it's a deleted scene that I don't know if they've ever put it on any of the DVDs or anything. They redid it. I don't know how many of you guys have listened to this, but back when the films came out, National Public Radio did a radio drama version of the story, which was later released on cassette and on DVD, on CD.
Yeah.
And they redid that scene for that, so you get a lot more background on Luke and kind of how pathetic Luke's life is. So I think I really like it because you see what he's escaping from when he goes off.
His
with
friends are calling him Wormy.
Exactly. Yeah, you see that he really doesn't have any reason to stay on Tatooine, especially once his aunt and uncle are killed.
Yeah.
But I'll go with that one.
James, what do you got?
Yeah, you guys kind of took the good ones because Chewie had a lot of good references or a lot of.
I mean, no one's actually said Chewie.
Yeah, that's one I was thinking of. I can't think of one.
I think you guys
Old
just
Ben?
about filled up my bingo card here.
You got me stumped.
Old Ben Kenobi.
Old Ben. There's another one I thought of besides Old Ben when Han Solo calls him, "Where'd you dig up that old fossil?" Guess they both have fossils, and it's an insult to call somebody an old fossil. So, yeah.
Kinda.
Mhm. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for playing, and you all get extra points today for some fantastic nicknames. So see me afterwards for your bingo prizes. Well, let's go ahead and get started and see what happens in Mandalorian Episode 13, The Jedi.
Awesome.
Previously on The Mandalorian.
Our usual run of things that we need to know to understand this episode.
Yeah, we've established that he's got Jedi power, so that's we're really kind of leaning into that because we know that that's been his quest. His quest has been given to him by the armorer is to find the baby's people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What I think is kind of interesting about this exchange that they're going over right now is that it kind of makes it clear that Jedi are not necessarily common knowledge at this point. The armorer has to explain to the Mandalorian what a Jedi is. He doesn't even know.
That's pretty impressive with the Imperials to be able to practically get rid of all knowledge of what the Jedi were, or suppress it, or sully their name so much that people just forget about them.
Right. Yeah. In
What are
over
we, episode
one generation.
Wise, I mean, we're about 20, 25 years post episode.
I think we're meant to be close to maybe 30 years after the.
I stopped putting
the
the year markers on the episodes. I should have kept that. Originally, I made sure to put the Star Wars years, the BBYs and the ABYs and everything.
Yeah, but I remember what happened in the 1990s. I mean, come on, it's not that long ago.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And
but there wasn't a
Mando
systematic.
not to know, it's weird because there is that history between Mandalorians and Jedi. So she has to say, "Oh, it's these sorcerer people." I thought of another nickname. That wizard's just a crazy old man. Wizard sorcerers. He doesn't know. Like when we start off, is he expecting the Jedi he finds to look like Baby Yoda, but an adult-sized one? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and with the Mandalorians, I mean, even in Clone Wars, the Jedi was not necessarily welcome on Mandalore. Like Obi-Wan Kenobi was one of the first and only there to see Satine. So like for a long time, the Mandalorians despised the Jedi.
Yeah.
They still
definitely
knew
are
who they were.
historical
So,
enemies.
yeah.
This scene. God, this scene.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because we're not with our main characters. We're not with the Mandalorian. We have no idea where this is, but all of a sudden there's someone with lightsabers, and it's 2 lightsabers, and we see who it is.
No shot.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but we didn't see any lightsabers in the first 12 episodes of the series, right?
We did not.
No,
we didn't. No.
Ahsoka's the first Jedi, so
Yeah.
she's the first set of
Yeah.
lightsabers.
Yeah, this is the first appearance of Jedi in this show. Yeah, and that's the thing is for people who had only watched the live action, for people who hadn't watched Rebels or Clone Wars, this is their first. You know, the whole new crop of people who had only been watching this live action show and maybe knew the movies had never seen Rebels. You know. Or Clone Wars, and so this is probably their first experience with Ahsoka.
It is.
And
Well, is this the first time we see Ahsoka grown up too? Because in the series, isn't she really young still?
In
teenager?
Rebels, she's around 30. So in Rebels, she's grown up more, and this is well after Rebels. Years escape me on this one.
About 10 to 15 years, yeah.
Yeah, so 10 to 15 years after this. So I would say she's in her mid 40s in this one. Still looking great, honestly.
Well, yeah,
Not
Rosario Dawson.
As a lady in her years similar to that. I think the best part about this scene, though, is we can see a lot of the same saber moves that she uses in Clone Wars and in Rebels, but she also has that Anakin kind of pulling the swords from here to here. And I really like the fact that Rosario honored the way that Filoni had animated her in this. She really did her homework, I guess.
Yeah, she's got the same fighting style for sure. Yeah.
And she's like a horror villain. Like she comes out of the dark dispatching these guys. And, you know, I mean, you're not 100% sure which side these people are on, right?
Yeah. The only other person in this scene that has probably ever seen a lightsaber or knows what it is the magistrate here. Those soldiers are just clueless, thinking they can take her on with the blaster.
Yeah.
Well, there's a history of sending out the cannon fodder to deal with the person with the lightsaber. Mm-hmm. You think they tell them in advance, is like, the blasters aren't going to help you against the lightsaber.
Yeah, but if they tell them that, they wouldn't go out to fight the person with the lightsaber, would they?
Cannon fodder, yeah.
Right.
In this case, though, she's the lone samurai. Like, if we follow the theming that Filoni is going with here, she's really the lone samurai in this, and we instantly want to cheer for her, obviously, because the magistrate turns out to be extremely horrible in about 30 seconds. So,
stylistically, we have definitely just entered a Kurosawa movie. You know, definitely a brand new Star Wars kind of theme here, a brand new look, visual style, and everything for Star Wars. We're now in a samurai movie. Yeah.
And the music also plays to that. Like, as you listen to this soundtrack for this specific episode, you hear those hints throughout. And that's really, it kind of brings you back to that a bit more.
I think anybody's willing to sacrifice 100 of their residents' lives probably is the bad guy.
And her response there is cage him. Yeah, she's definitely not a good leader at any, like, no leader cages just random dudes.
No, she runs under terror.
She's definitely a baddie.
So here's our heroes, Mando and Baby Yoda, still as we call him, the child.
Kid. There's a nickname.
The kid.
An often used one.
So in that last scene with Ahsoka in the forest, you saw how she kind of like sliced right through a tree. Like, is she like a lumberjack or something there too? Like, did she take out all of those trees? Because lightsabers would be very efficient for the lumber milling industry.
Yeah, Corvus was a lush jungle before Ahsoka got there, and now look at it.
Right.
It's harsh.
Well, she learned from Anakin how to be dramatic. Don't forget. Yeah. She learned how to add that little bit of drama into what she was doing.
Yeah, she dispatched those bad guys pretty dramatically.
Yeah, I guess that landscape is supposed to look like wildfires near Dave Filoni's house. That's where the design came from. So.
Baby Yoda wants that little ball on top of the stick.
What's the ball?
He is still obsessed with
Yes.
that. Yep. And now he's got the power to bring it to him.
Mm-hmm.
Work it.
Baby Yoda at his tricks again.
Just don't crash the ship
Mischievous
while you're
little
doing
guy.
it.
I think that's a minor consideration for him. Yeah. I don't think he's thinking that through to that extent. Is like, hey, will I crash the ship if I get the shiny thing? Shiny thing. That's as far as the thought process goes.
Yes. Shiny.
Well, and I think they're trying to make a point about how maybe Baby Yoda is getting beyond the Mandalorian's ability to deal with and to take care of. And he's getting to be more than a handful. Imagine if your toddler could move things with their mind. That wouldn't go well, would it?
Right.
I mean, it's basically the shifter stick in a car. I used to take those off when I was a kid too. My dad used to scold me for taking it off his Chevelle. So,
Right.
like, he's just being a kid.
Yeah. And you kept doing it after your dad scolded
Sure,
you. didn't you?
I still do it in my car now when I'm in traffic. So,
He's got it.
oh, ain't so cute.
He got it. What did I say about that?
He's turned into a parent. Boy, that rings true.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like
Not
the
not
weird-
much.
Or Ahsoka, right? Like, if I remember correctly, Bo-Katan said, hey, go here, find the Jedi.
Yeah, no real detail or anything.
Mhm.
Just pointed him in the direction. I mean, that's what he'd been looking for, was someone who could point him in the direction of a Jedi. I think at this point he still thinks of Jedi as the baby's people, not necessarily as a race, or potentially as a race. He thinks Jedi might be a race of people.
Not a cult, like it is.
Right. Well,
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. He doesn't know he's not going to run into a bunch of Yodas on this planet.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Here's Michael Biehn, star of Aliens and the Terminator.
Come with me if you want to live.
Yeah, he has a solid sci-fi pedigree.
Yeah.
Also terrific in Tombstone. I think we talked about that movie a little bit when we watched The Marshal at the start of this.
Does anyone else think he is miscast in this role, or is he given poor dialogue?
I mean, I think it's a pretty standard example of that type of character in this type of show. In this type of samurai thing, that kind of lead henchman role. I mean, I think he's the character and his performance is personifying that.
Well, and he's also a hired gun, right? He's not actually. He's hired for this, so he's a mercenary.
Yeah, he doesn't believe in a cause in this.
But yeah, I mean, it's a very typical character, so it's not a very exciting character.
Mm-hmm. Could there be more Michael Biehn-ness to it? Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I met him at Colorado Springs Comic-Con, I think 2-3 years ago. Very nice guy.
Nice.
Yeah, he's been at the Rose City Comic-Con here in Portland a couple of times. He seems really cool.
Dude, these poor people, man. He's just trying to get the situation, get the lowdown on what's going on in this town, and it just looks depressing. Even the droid was just hobbling along. So sad.
Yeah, it's all very dreary and gray.
Yeah, I think you would learn eventually that if you're in a town and you live in the outer ring and the inner ring is a fighting area, you're probably in the wrong town.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this is storytelling shorthand for the leader is an awful person.
But what is the magistrate getting out of taking over this town? I mean, it doesn't look like there's resources to plunder, or at least not any longer.
She's using them. You can see it when they do the far shots of the castle. The area that they're in now. You can see in the background. You can see the factories that they're still running, and so these are probably not indentured servants, but I would guess that they're getting paid very little, or if at all, to do this.
Cheap labor / slaves.
And there doesn't appear to be a spaceport, so they're stuck there.
Couldn't afford to go anywhere if they wanted to.
Yeah, and the planet doesn't have a union organizer.
Yeah,
torturing those people outside, just going from bad to worse.
It's dark, man. For Star Wars, seeing the people strung up like that.
Yeah, and here we go. Yeah, we come once we get through the gate. It's a beautiful garden.
Yeah,
Very Game of Thrones-esque.
It's very or Dune. with the people living out in the desert, and then the wealthy people get trees and lushness. It's a great looking episode, though. I mean, they all are, but this one, I like this. I like the way this looks.
Remember offhand who directed this one?
Filoni.
Is it Filoni? Okay, of
wrote,
course.
wrote and directed with the Ahsoka in there. So
Right, of course. Yeah, the live action first appearance of Ahsoka, it had to be Filoni.
He wouldn't let anyone else do it.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a different look. The color palette, is distinctly different than anything previous in the show up until now.
Yeah. So far, we've mostly had deserts and forests, so everything's either been brown or green.
And it looks like everything's in smoke, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Jefferson, you mentioned Dune. I think that's where they got the name. Some of the names, like the city of Caledon, and then the planet Corvus. I think those are both Dune references.
Yeah.
Herbert, that's one thing if you've ever read the Dune books. I mean, it is chock full of names. Herbert liked to name everything.
Yes.
So where did the magistrate get this Beskar spear?
I don't think she ever mentions where she got it.
Black market?
I remember thinking when I watched this the first time that she seemed like she must have appeared somewhere, either in Rebels or Clone Wars, or that the character must have been established at some point as an acolyte of one of the high Imperials at some point.
Yeah, they don't give a lot of background with her, kind of what her role was. She's kind of a mysterious character, right? And then, of course, at the end, when something goes down, she asks her, Ahsoka asks her a very interesting question.
Yeah. I think
So she must be tied to the Outer Rim somehow.
she worked for the Imperials. She was manufacturing something for the Imperials, right? So my guess is the Imperials confiscated all the Beskar when they took over Mandalore. So my guess is that that spear, she treats that spear with reverence. Like, it's very clear that it's similar to a sword for her. So it probably was hard earned on her part. Hard earned. Quotes.
Well, and she probably also knows its value in terms of fighting against a Jedi.
Yeah.
What is that thing?
Good luck charm.
Yeah, he tries to play off how important the baby would be.
Maybe the spear was like a work anniversary thing. Like every 10 years, you're associated with.
Sure, yeah. Instead of the watch or the
gold watch.
They give you a better spear every time.
The Beskar spear.
I'd take something made of Beskar.
You would think, for being the most strongest metal, Beskar would be like the 100th anniversary of something.
Mhm.
So you guys didn't mention the actress who's playing the magistrates. You might want to
mention.
I'm not familiar with her. Who is she?
Say about it.
Of course, you're putting me on the spot. But she's the
Santo.
she's the goddaughter of Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
Oh, neat.
She's also more known for martial arts and being a stunt person. She directed some films as well. The Bruce Lee thing's neat too. But it's interesting. It's an interesting character. So hopefully they'll explain a little more about that character when on the Ahsoka series. So we'll just have
Or
to
the
see.
future Filoni movie, perhaps. You never know.
Right.
And we get Mando vision here.
Is that infrared?
Yeah, Predator time.
Yeah, it looked more infra pink to me than infrared. But
somewhere in the trees here, and it's a blink and you'll miss it kind of thing. You're supposed to see the Convor, the bird that follows Ahsoka around.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, flame and rope. Try everything. But
well, now we see in
they're
the
specifically trained for this situation.
well, in the lore, a lot of the Mandalorian gadgets are meant to help them fight Jedi. They're meant to simulate the Jedi powers they get. They can't move things with their minds, so they get grappling hooks instead, and flamethrowers to counter the lightsabers.
Yeah, we saw some of that training with the Rebels. With name just left my brain. I'm going to look stupid.
With
Ezra and Kanan.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, this is like we were saying earlier. This is the first time he's had to face off against a Jedi on the show.
Yeah.
He did okay. He
Yeah,
survived.
he's
On his
got
own for
all of
5
his
seconds.
limbs still.
But he name dropped Bo-Katan, so that's what
Mhm.
got him out of the situation.
That was smart.
He also called her Ahsoka Tano, which makes me think that Bo-Katan did give the name
Oh,
to
yeah.
him.
So this looks like straight out of like horror movie, full moon, crackly trees, one
Spindly
light.
dead tree. Yeah,
Yeah.
it looks great. I really like and they do it in the city too. It's all the kind of drab gray with little spots of orange light here and there.
And the pacing is good too. Like it's slow, deliberate, wait for it. It's all good, because it's not rushing through right here. It's letting these characters have their space and let it develop.
Right.
Oh, baby reacts to her.
Hug it out.
Yeah, this scene you get to kind of see Rosario playing the character differently than that first scene when it was a battle scene and she was all intense. But she's just like, oh, I hope you're here to talk about that. Seeing this thing that looks like Yoda, it was a big surprise for her.
I just had to comment against that shot of them silhouetted against the moon. It was just gorgeous. I mean, it was like a painting. Yeah. Her holding the baby silhouetted against the moon there.
Yeah, bringing 2 Dave Filoni characters together.
Is there any other Star Wars character that's had more hours of screen time than Ahsoka?
Anakin?
Yeah,
Only because
maybe.
Hayden Christensen?
Right.
Jake Lloyd?
I think
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Clone Wars.
Not really, because he's not in the 3 films that he's in. He's barely in. He's only in the first 2/3 of the original film. He's only in a couple minutes of the other 2.
That's true, but he has his own series too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but still, when you put I could see the likelihood of when you put all of Ahsoka's screen time between Rebels and Clone Wars together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's been on more different. And then once you add in her series, I think she's going to take the lead. I'll
allow it.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue that she's the most well-developed character in the whole saga. She's had more. They've said more about her than arguably any of the other characters, with the possible exception of Anakin.
Yeah, they spend a lot of time telling her story, especially when she's with Anakin, and here she's a very much more mature Ahsoka, right? She's not the emotional one that's hanging out with Anakin, as her master. What a duo those two were together. I mean, putting those together was a crazy idea. Whoever came up with that.
Yeah. I mean, and she's been through everything that she went through. I mean, with Clone Wars, with Rebels, some of what we saw from her on the what was the animated that we very first started the show with when we started off, and we saw the baby version of her, and that
Tales of the Jedi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we need to backtrack and get to the episode that covered her after Clone Wars, or after what leads her into Rebel, basically.
All right, well, here we get some important reminders and the language about the Force. She's repeating what Yoda has said to Luke and giving, Mando here the backstory and awareness about who this is that he's with. This is huge. I mean, we're finally, this season 2, episode 13, now we're finally learning more about who Grogu is.
Yeah. And the Mandalorian has entered into a larger world.
Yeah. And it's nice how she kind of explains to Mando and us, the viewer, if you don't have this history if you haven't watched all of the movies, well, here's what a Jedi is. It's this wizard. It's got powers. There's this thing called the Force. Just boom, right here in this scene.
Right.
And they can mind meld.
Okay, so she's on board. She's going to test him. She's not going to change her mind.
She's going to wait a little while before confronting the magistrate. This is important. Does she know of any other Jedi right now? Alive out there?
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, she's, I don't know if we want to talk about it before the end of the episode, but the end kind of sets up what she's looking for, I guess.
Yeah.
she's not quick to refer him to, oh, I know the Jedi for you. So at this point.
Yeah, at this point,
Oh, sorry, Jefferson. Go ahead.
does she even know Luke at this point?
We don't know. Without spoilers, we don't know. Not that it would be spoilers at this point for any of us, but
Yeah.
it's not made clear.
Yeah. I mean, we know what she points him towards later, and that leads to Luke, but I don't know if she knows that that's leading to Luke, you know?
Right.
Grogu.
Yep. Oh, okay. So we already had the dialogue that his name was Grogu. Okay. Yeah. Baby's got a name.
I like that whenever Din says it, he's like, yes?
I wonder what the focus group is like for them deciding what his name was going to be. That must have been some heated discussion.
Yeah, how did they come up with that?
Yeah, I know the online reaction was not great, but I mean, hey, it's a name, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, before 1980, who thought the word Yoda was going to be a good name for a character? So
Right.
Well, and didn't we have Yaddle?
Right.
We've seen 3
Yeah.
of
Yep.
this species in the universe.
That's all we've seen so far, yeah.
So
Yeah, so shouldn't he have a Y name, right? Continue the tradition here.
maybe that was Filoni's break from Lucas.
Yogu.
Asserting his independence.
Maybe they'll eventually give us the background story of this race, right, and how he got his name and stuff.
Not necessary.
Something to look
I
at.
kind of hope they
Not
don't,
necessary.
actually. I don't want to see a whole city of them running around.
Yeah, yeah.
I like the idea that they're rare.
We know if Mel Brooks was involved, his name would have been Yogurt, but
Right.
Rosario Dawson really was a good choice to play. She looks just like the version of Ahsoka that we see in Rebels, the adult version.
and she definitely had the fandom cred.
I also she advocated for it after she saw herself in art as Ahsoka. She
Yeah,
was
the
like,
fan-
"Oh no, this is me."
Yeah, the
She
fans
did the voice, correct?
suggested it first, and then she saw the fans suggesting it because the fans already knew her from several other, Marvel projects and other stuff, and she like ran with it basically and said, "Hey, I would be great for it. Think about me."
Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah, it's crazy the timeline of how that worked. Someone put it on Twitter in 2017, and she's like, "Oh yeah, that'd be cool." And then here we go, 3 years later, and she is the real Ahsoka.
What I always love online is whenever there's any article or headlines in an article, it's like, actor will work in this project. I'm like, because they'll ask an actor, like, would you do a Star Wars film? Or would you do a Marvel thing? Or would you do a sequel to your previous movie? I'm like, to me, the dumbest question in the world is asking an actor if they will be paid to do their craft. Yes, they would.
I guess.
Yeah, most actors are just desperate for work, so
Right,
yeah,
yeah.
say yes to anything.
Yeah, 99.9% of an actor's life is searching for work. Will they take money to do their craft? Yes, they will.
I love how proud Mando is of Grogu here using the
Yes.
Force. Makes my heart squishy.
Although
You did good, kid. Good job.
I don't know, it kind of felt more like training a dog than training a child.
Yeah.
Grogu, make
Oh,
your
boy.
pull the rock from me.
80-20.
Well, I mean, until he starts talking, that's kind of what they're stuck with.
True.
This is where Ahsoka's trauma comes out.
Yeah.
Understandable.
Yeah, because in her mind, she still is not a Jedi. She still is she didn't complete the training. She didn't fully, she left the order. So I mean, that wound is still there for her.
Well, in this case, it's actually like I think it's more so that she's seeing in her mind Vader with Anakin. Like that one scene out of Rebels that you watch it and just first time I watched it, tears just streaming because you could feel her pain. Like.
And she saw the aftermath of Order 66, and she lived to tell the tale, but she knows other Jedi around the galaxy did not. So she knows the safe road for Grogu is just to keep his mouth shut.
Keep your head down and try not to attract attention to
Jedi
yourself.
Jedi right now is still just keeping their head down. Yeah.
Laser sword.
I know, yeah, him referring to them as laser swords. And how cool is two laser swords, two lightsabers, on her. And that's such a. I see. I don't know if that's an Ahsoka thing or a Rosario Dawson thing. That look, like kind of talking down to him, kind of telling him the basics of the reality here.
I think it's a little of both. I think she, like Erin said earlier, she did her homework for sure, but she also made the part her own.
Yeah.
She isn't just copying the animated version.
Yeah.
Yeah, it shouldn't be a straight copy either, right? Like she's had life experiences,
Exactly. Yeah.
loved ones, but she's wiser as well. She's an independent operator, but she still has those Jedi principles in her.
I love that. A Mandalorian and a Jedi, they'll never see it coming. The team up you never thought would happen.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is such a samurai movie.
Yeah, just those gates, that wall and those gates. It's straight out of Kurosawa.
Yeah.
Yeah, plus the guards' costumes too.
Well, maybe a little less so, but
and just everything in mist, everything in fog, just constantly.
Well, and then the soundtrack that goes along with it.
Yeah.
It's a masterpiece. Like any Star Wars music is a masterpiece, but this one really ties it in.
Yeah.
Yeah, why would you move towards the woman with the swinging laser sword?
They didn't tell third shift about the lightsabers. They still don't know.
Yeah. Okay, this guy finally wised up.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I think they need more non-laser focused weapons in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
Any more projectiles, grenades.
That's what Andor's for.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
All right, now they've got a serious defense here with all these soldiers, the assassin droids, the gunslinger. She's safe.
It's not going to matter.
It won't be enough.
Yeah.
It's right out of the Westerns I used to watch as a kid.
Totally.
Bow, bow, bow. Wow, wow.
I'd see the rifleman right now.
We're all transfixed by her.
I know, it's kind of hard to talk while this is going on. Even like the scene we're watching now doesn't even have any dialogue, but we're still just hypnotized.
Yeah, it's just
You don't want to ruin the moment.
Visually compelling.
Yeah.
It is stunning.
It's good. It's like straight out of the storyboards I'm sure that they drew for this scene,
Mm-hmm.
The sabers hanging on the sides.
You can almost hear the jingle of the spurs.
Yep, totally.
The whistling.
Even the poncho. Yeah, the poncho is very Western.
So she throws down Mando's pauldron, implying that he's been killed.
Right, she's taking him out as far as they know.
Yeah.
Which means they're not expecting him now. Yeah, where's your master? And she knows who she believes her master is, but we don't know yet who she believes her master is. It's the name that shall not be spoken yet.
Yeah, but oh boy, when it does get spoken.
Yeah.
A name that goes with a face that finally came out live action in a trailer today for the first time.
I haven't
seen it.
Yeah, she just needs to say, you don't get a 25-year spear like this by giving up names just that easily. You can't have it.
This is another Kurosawa callback. The peasants peering at the action through their shutters.
Right.
Mm-hmm. This guy's my hero. He really is.
Mando's got a good heart.
Yeah.
Oh, I was talking about the villager.
Yeah, there's always one helpful villager that's willing to step up and help the hero when all the rest of them just cower.
Doesn't always work out for that villager, though.
No, it rarely works out for the villager, but
I'd say just overall this series to get this far in, into the second season, to have been extremely successful and extremely popular as a Star Wars thing without a single image of a Jedi in action, until now.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty. It's
doesn't like
remarkable, but at the same time, I feel like they were counter programming because before this, it had been Clone Wars and Rebels and tons of Jedi action, and so I think maybe they were going, you know what, we should probably do something else.
Yeah, even Rogue One, which was billed as the thing that you weren't going to see any lightsabers, they couldn't even make it through that movie.
Yeah, even Solo almost made it, but even Solo had one.
It's true. Same thing.
I mean, the series is still The Mandalorian, right? He still plays a big part of this episode, but you always kind of worry, like, okay, if we bring in Ahsoka Tano, you bring in a Jedi, is she going to take over?
She's going to upstage him,
episode?
Yeah. And she does this episode, but I think I think it's good that they didn't make her a regular.
Correct.
Yeah. This episode is it's. I mean, this is the backdoor pilot for her series.
Yeah.
Well, The Mandalorian, the whole series is proof that you can have a Star Wars series without a whole lot of lightsabers and Jedi and magic force. Like you can, and I really feel that kind of opened the door for Andor.
Yeah. This proved that they could. It kind of demonstrated to the audience that we can do anything in this setting.
Mm-hmm.
And then Andor is pushing that home by being a World War II thriller.
Yeah. That
I
it's
agree
the
with you.
whole world.
I agree with you, Aaron, that it opened up the door to tell more types of stories in live action Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
And child Jonathan approves of this.
Yes.
Yeah. So is child Erin.
Because when all you had were the movies, you're like, what else can we get?
Yeah, I know. I was thinking about that when
animated, and then here, this is the fully ripened, perfect Star Wars.
I know. I was thinking about that when Jonathan was doing his intro about how we're a group that watches Star Wars shows and talks about them. Just let's take a moment to think about how much Star Wars shows we have to watch now compared to when we were kids. And yeah, there were 3 movies. There was 6 hours of material, and that was it.
There were radio dramas, and we had the Timothy Zahn novels. And then
much later. Well, yeah.
After that, I think I might be in a slightly younger generation than most.
I don't know what makes you say that, but
maybe only because I'm guessing you all saw Star Wars originally in the theater,
right,
I didn't have that. I didn't have that pleasure until 1997.
We did have the Marvel comic book, the Star Wars comic book.
Yes.
Yeah, Jefferson and I are of an age that yes, we saw it in the theater when the originals came out. Yeah, so I had a childhood, at least 8 years of which Star Wars did not exist.
And now look at this: you get a Jedi with 2 lightsabers fighting somebody with a Mandalorian spear. I mean, come on, that's awesome.
Yeah, my childhood, I had Mego action figures and Super Friends. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Until Star Wars came along and took it all over.
True.
This is it's great how they cut between the 2 duels here. We get the Western duel with these 2, and we get the Samurai duel with these 2.
Yep.
Nice.
Well, it's the 2 hired guns facing off, and then it's the hero and the villain facing off.
Right, the true believers.
Yeah. And she does a good job using this non-Jedi weapon, using the spear. It's something that they had to think about with Revenge of the Sith and with the Clone Wars, that how do you have someone take on a lightsaber wielder that is not wielding a lightsaber? So you have things like the Magna Guards and Temple Guards and different kind of staffs that are not lightsabers, but it has to look like it's an even match.
Yeah, exactly, because they got to change it up. It can't just be lightsaber duels all the time.
So I have a question, and this is an honest one, and I might lose my Star Wars card for this. Is there another point in Star Wars up to this where we learn that something cannot be cut by a lightsaber, that actually can deflect a lightsaber, other than another lightsaber, of course?
I can't think of anything.
Yeah, I don't.
Going back to Rots, Grievous's guards had those electro staffs.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Okay.
Those blocked lightsabers.
Oh, okay.
But as for something that like this, Beskar is the first material.
Something that its inherent properties prevent it from being a lightsaber. Yeah. No, I think that was a huge thing here to establish the, because we established Beskar, but we never established Beskar in relation to lightsabers until this moment. So
yeah, you could be right as far as like a solid thing, because I think throughout Clone Wars it was more like an because of the electricity pulsating off this device. That's what was blocking the light.
Right. I was going to say, I think those staffs that you're talking about, it was light to light,
Yeah.
So why did Lang try to pull a fast one on Mando? He heard his boss lost, right? Why? What's he fighting for at that point?
It's pride, simple pride.
His own survival.
Yeah, he's just trying to prove he's better.
Well, he found out he's not.
Yeah.
Game over, man.
Here's the name. Here's your master.
You're waiting this whole episode to say
Where
that.
is
I
Grand
just
Admiral
thought of that.
Thrawn?
So it worked out.
Sorry, I
Thrawn.
know you guys were into something, but we had to point out that moment that we said the name Grand Admiral Thrawn.
Very nice.
And we don't. The audience doesn't get to see it. They do this wipe down. Like, dang it! I want to know.
Is this guy going to be the new mayor? Well, looks good.
So where is she? Right? We didn't get to see where she is, do we?
The
Magistrate.
magistrate. No, we didn't. No, we didn't decisively see what happened to her.
Maybe she's up in one of those boxes being electrocuted right now.
Well, since the peasants have taken over the village, if she's smart, she's hightailing it out the back door.
Right.
Assuming that Ahsoka got information from her that she wanted.
And we hope that she did, because we
Maybe
know
we'll see her later.
end of
Maybe she
Rebels
can eat.
why.
Yep.
Because for
You wanna
those,
explain the end of Rebels?
yeah. So I mean, like the end of Rebels, we know why Ahsoka cares so much about finding Thrawn.
Right.
She's looking for Ezra. She's helping Sabine. But when my parents watching this, they have no idea who Thrawn is, let alone why Ahsoka would be looking, and that makes a really good foundation for the Ahsoka series.
Right. Because Grand Admiral Thrawn and Ezra were on board a ship, went out into hyperspace with some sort of tentacle alien things, and just disappeared.
Spaceballs.
Space
Right,
whales.
so-
The Purrgil, yeah.
There
But
you go.
but you're right. We just get that one line, and then this series does not come back to that storyline at all.
Nope.
We get more Bo-Katan and the Mandalorian story, but as far as the Ahsoka story, you're going to have to tune in to a new.
Well, not until the end of season 3. So that's kind of preview for towards the end of season 3 that does come back in dialogue. Yeah.
But it gives us some hope. Like, so those of us who are really passionate about Rebels, and those of us who really kind of felt that storyline, the idea of Ezra coming back is a big one, especially after the loss of Kanan. And so when I saw this, I was like, oh man, I can't believe it. We might get Ezra back. And so that was kind of a thing.
Because that's your Star Wars. That's the part of the Star Wars menu that you're passionate about.
It is. And everyone has a different passion, and that's great, like.
And so here's Ahsoka kind of saying, I can't train him. I am a Jedi, but I can't be the one to train him. And he's like, you made a promise. I'm supposed to deliver him to Jedi. If it's not you, who's it going to be? And so she has to point him in a direction. And that's what always, this season is always about, is pointing him in a direction.
Mm-hmm.
But he's bluffing. He's not really going to give Grogu to Ahsoka, even if she was going to accept this kid. There's no way.
I mean, that
might have.
I think if she'd have accepted him, that was his mission.
Yeah, but still, come on.
He wants the best for him.
Yeah.
Like,
Still, I don't believe it. As a parent of a kid, I don't think he would give up this child. I may say he would, but come on.
Well,
that's the attachment that they're referring to.
Yep.
It's just as dangerous for Grogu.
Right.
But she points him in a direction, says, there aren't many Jedi left. Here's what you need to do is go send out this signal, which we'll see in a future episode. And so, like I said, it's all about pointing him in directions. Everything is just a stopover. Each episode is still, for the most part, standalone, but with the one overriding theme of him trying to find a place for him, trying to find his people.
What planet does he go to next?
A team of them.
I wonder what was said there, because there was obviously something said between Grogu and Ahsoka.
Right.
She said, see ya, kid. Take care of
I mean, have we ever had that kind of direct telepathy between Jedi? in that same way before?
Like with four spirits, I guess, but not two people like speaking to each other.
Yeah.
Right.
Not in a Vulcan mind meld sort of way.
Yeah, because that definitely seemed like what we were going for here. Her finding out about his name and all that kind of stuff, and getting a bit about his backstory. That there was a direct telepathy thing going on there that I don't think we'd really seen in the same way before.
Right.
But she's willing to let him go. I think she approves of this situation of Mando, Grogu being together, and she's like, "Sure, I can point you the right direction, but if it doesn't happen, I still feel like this is a good situation for Grogu and Mando to be in right now."
Yeah, Grogu's obviously safe with Mando, and her whole goal is to protect the remaining, especially Force users.
So written and directed by Dave Filoni this episode. I mean, obviously, like we said, it's he was not going to give the care to put in the hands of someone else. The first live action appearance of Ahsoka.
No, why would he?
And it was good. I mean, how can you not like Ahsoka from this episode? You get to see some action. You get to see some coy looks that she gives, and she's charming. She's endearing, and she like opens up this world of who Grogu is to Mando and to the audience. That's a lot to do in one episode, but I feel like they accomplished it, which is fantastic.
Well, and it's very different from her introduction in Clone Wars. How in Clone Wars, when she was first introduced, the whole fan base was like, "What is this nonsense?" And here, where she's introduced again to a whole new fan base, we have to think about this as most people have watched Mandalorian and not the animated series. So a whole new fan base is instantly endeared to her, which is completely different than her first introduction.
That's a good point, because you do have to kind of appeal to and have that understanding of two different fan bases, right? A fan base who knows who this character is, and those who are just here for Mandalorian and may have hopefully seen the movies, but not seen any of that animated stuff. And it's like, well, who's the character? You have to have that introduction to her and be able to provide a little bit of backstory at the same time that she's kind of explaining about who Grogu is, right? Yeah. She talks about Order 66, the Empire. She doesn't get into the details of her personal backstory and what brought her there, but that's okay. You can just kind of plant the seed a little bit about who this character is, and then if you want to learn more, you can. There's more out there in the past, and there may be more coming in the future.
And the performance, I mean, I think even in and of itself, gives you enough information just emotionally about the character to know that she's haunted, she's got a past, she's got stuff that she struggled with, so at least you don't have to get a whole kind of flashback backstory, and a whole lot of exposition to kind of tell that. Her performance carries that emotional weight for you.
Yeah. And for a viewer who this is their first exposure to that character, they get to see, well, who is this Jedi that kind of has this little bit of a snarky attitude and stands with her arms crossed, but also seems to have this wisdom and great skill when it comes to fighting these random soldiers. I think it's a really good debut for the character. But thankfully, they don't let her steal the entire season. It's just, she gets this one episode, she gets one episode of Boba, and then gets her own series, thankfully.
Yeah, there would be a huge danger of her just running away with whatever show she was in. If she could not be the sidekick, I don't think.
Right.
She's just too. The character's too interesting, and she's too visually striking that you're not, when she's on screen, you're not really looking at anything else.
It's that good a character,
yeah.
It's that good a performance. It's that good of everything,
yeah. Well,
awesome. Any last cracks of the bat that you guys want for this episode?
I was excited about the heir to the Empire being mentioned. Bring it on.
Michael Bain deserved better. That's all. That's all I'm going to say. He deserved better.
Bain got done dirty.
He sure did.
Well, our magistrate, we don't know her final fate, so
right. So she'll be back.
Maybe she'll be back. Awesome. Well, thank you guys and Erin and everybody who's out there watching. Michael, did we have anybody who dropped in any questions or comments during the live stream? No,
not this week. Hopefully, since if people watch this after the fact, watch the live stream, you get to watch the show with us live and everything.
Awesome.
And I should mention to the people who watch our episode previous to this one that we put out on that we recorded on the 4th of July week, or we recorded for the 4th of July week so we could take the week off. If you're watching the YouTube version of that after the fact, I tried to actually show the full episode with sound and everything, and YouTube immediately made me edit the entire thing out for the episode to even be put out there. So that's why we can't show the full episodes on YouTube. But if you watch us live on either Facebook or Twitch, you can actually watch the video live with us. When I put it out on YouTube after the fact, I replace it with stills.
Awesome.
Well, we appreciate you being our producer and helping to make this podcast happen. So there's your peek behind the curtain, everybody. But we hope that you'll be back next time as we pull back the curtain on more episodes of The Mandalorian. Next week, season 2, episode, which one is it? 15?
14. Chapter 14.
Chapter 14, The Tragedy, which sounds both ominous and ambiguous. So be back for that. And if you're interested in learning more about the Rocky Mountain Fan Force, you can find our Facebook page, Rocky Mountain Fan Force. Erin, if somebody's interested in learning more about Rebel Legion Mountain Base, where would they go to find out?
We have a website, rlmountainbase.com.
Very cool. Check that out as well. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. May the Force be with you.
See you guys.
Thanks, guys.